Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the Senior Program Manager for Online Learning at Global Ties US. We're a nonprofit partner of the US State Department located here in Washington, D.C. We also have a network of community-based members across the US and across the world that help administer a lot of our custom exchange programs, as well as the International Visitors Leadership Program, one of the Education and Cultural Affairs Bureau's premier professional exchange programs. And so we're relatively new to the virtual exchange field. It's only really been over the past 2.5 years that we've focused on building out our capacity and what we're doing in that space. And myself and Jennifer Chen, who used to work at World Learning and is now in California at Facebook, and we miss her dearly. And she was going to try to pop in to co-present with me, but it's very early in the morning there, and they're having their own challenges with coronavirus in San Francisco. So it's just going to be me. Lucky you. But I'm going to talk about a survey that we did and then give you a few examples of some of the platforms that we're currently using in in the virtual exchange that Global Ties is running. So first of all, answering the question, why should we be looking at platforms that are used in virtual exchange? So particularly for this survey, which thank you as well to anyone who took the survey. Like Hope said, I think the way that we initially set it up, it was really long, so we appreciate your perseverance. And it was one of the questions that both Jen and I kept getting from folks that we were talking to about virtual exchange or members of the larger exchange community that we were discussing our programs with was, if I want to do virtual exchange, how do I get started? What platforms do I use? What is best? Is there a difference in what I should use with younger students versus older students? Does geography matter? And so with some interest expressed by the Stevens Initiative and access to all of you who are a diverse community of expert practitioners, shout out on the slide, we decided to move forward with conducting a brief survey that resulted in a poster presentation at the 2020 Global Ties US National Meeting in January. And we also have really found that there is a lot of better usage of the platforms and online spaces that we're building when the right tools are selected for the particular group that you're working with for a virtual exchange program. And so I'm gonna share a link to the survey itself. And that is, you're welcome to look at that now, look at it later, download it, share it. And I will also at some point be posting it on the Virtual Exchange Coalition's website. Hope, can you go to the next slide? Okay, so I'm not going to spend too long on this, just a few things I wanted to highlight since I want to be respectful of the other presenters' time, and I know I have 7 minutes. These are some of the really interesting results that we got were the top platforms overall used by virtual exchange program practitioners, which is largely all of you. Facebook and WhatsApp were two of the biggest ones, and followed by Skype, Zoom, and Flipgrid. And to note, the people who were responding to the survey could select more than one platform. And so that's why the numbers don't always add up to the actual number of survey respondents that you would see in the top of the one-pager that I linked in the chat. And then we're particularly interested in platforms that were easy for participants to learn, as well as that were stable, allowed for stable connection for folks that were in either areas of the US with low internet bandwidth or areas of the world where high-speed internet is not quite so common. And so one of the reasons that we wanted to have the folks from MapWorks Learning talk a little bit later is because Narrative Atlas was one of the platforms that was highlighted by multiple people as a good platform to use if you are working with folks in a low internet bandwidth area. And then for the top 5 platforms for ease of use for participants to learn. Flipgrid and Padlet are actually something that I'm going to talk about, give some examples of, and I've found that in practice, these are the students that we're working with, both in the US and Pakistan, didn't need much direction on how to use both of these tools. So I'm living out our survey results. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Oh, yeah. And you have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, so these are some findings based on participant numbers. I will not spend any time on this because you can read it yourself, and I don't have much context to add. Okay, so I wanted to give you an example of 2 of those top platforms that were easy to use or identified as easy to use. One is Flipgrid, and so Flipgrid is a tool that specifically made for educators. It's almost like a Snapchat for educators where students can upload videos and respond to each other in a controlled, password-protected environment that is controlled by a teacher. So this is just an example of the prompt in Google Classroom for this activity. Can you go to the next slide, please, Hope?
Yeah.
And this is an example of what the actual Flipgrid looks like. This was an introductory activity where students were sharing their journey to school and answering questions about themselves in the process. And we even had one of our teacher facilitators, you can see Curtis down in the bottom. He liked the activity so much that he decided to participate. And so it's been, and you can see if you look at Javier, you can see that there's a little circle above his picture, and that's someone that is a video response to his response from he's in the US and a Pakistani student in his virtual classroom and virtual exchange responded to his video. So it's a really neat tool and it's free, which is fantastic. Can you go to the next slide, Hope? The other thing I wanted to just give you a quick example of was Padlet. Padlet is basically like a virtual bulletin board. It's a great place where students can add and organize thoughts. It's a good place if you're having groups collaboratively storyboard something to utilize. And can you go to the next slide? And then this is just an example of a intercultural communication Padlet chat that we had students do. And they can add video, they can add, some people recorded a video, some people recorded audio, and students can interact by commenting on different Padlet posts. So hopefully I made it in 7 minutes. I talked very fast. And if anyone has any questions about the survey itself or any of the results that I highlighted, our methodology for the survey, please feel free to ask.
You have 2 minutes for any burning questions, and then if folks want to put them in the chat. But if anybody has a question right off the top, that is totally fine.
And so for Narrative Atlas, we will be, the creators of Narrative Atlas are actually going to be talking in a little bit and sharing an in-depth look at that platform. So we will get to learn about it in just a short while.
So, sorry, I missed the sample size of these evaluations that you put together. Like 100% of how many? 91% of what?
Right. So if you click on the if you click on the link to the, and I realized that I put in the text link to survey. It's the link to the survey results, the PDF of the poster that we actually presented. Mm-hmm. And so there were 29 unique respondents.
Okay.
And there were multiple questions where they were allowed to select more than one response if it was applicable to their program. And so that's why if you're adding up the percentages or like the actual number of like, 17 people selected Facebook, 16
and these were
whatnot.
Undergrad students, right?
No, these were practitioners in the virtual
exchange practitioners community. Okay, I was confused from your letter. Okay.
Yeah, but and if you and I'll share that one more time. So I should say link to survey. No.
I put it in. I just put it in.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you look at the methodology paragraph, that outlines.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, though.
All right. Thank you so much. And now Nicole. Nicole has been doing COIL for how many years now?